The screams tore through the night like a blade ripping the sky open. In Ashwood, a quiet American town beside Blackthorn Forest, the disappearance of 12-year-old Liam shattered the calm. One moment he was riding his bike along the forest edge, laughing with his friends, and the next he was gone, swallowed by the trees. Police searched from dusk to dawn, dragging flashlights across twisted roots, calling his name until their voices cracked. All they found was his shoe hanging from a branch, tied with a strange symbol made of sticks. Locals whispered curses. They said the forest was alive. They said it took who it wanted. Liam's mother insisted she heard him humming outside her window at night, even though the boy had been missing 3 days. The sheriff dismissed it as grief, yet he wouldn't step into the forest alone. Something moved between the trees, too tall, too thin, too silent. Every dog in town barked toward the woods until sunrise, and beneath the soil, an old heartbeat began to pulse again, echoing through roots and rocks. Blackthorn Forest had awakened, and Ashwood was about to learn its hunger had never truly ended. The trees whispered a warning, yet teenagers rarely listened. Tyler, Mia, Ethan, and Grace grabbed their cameras and decided to film a documentary inside Blackthorn Forest. They wanted views, fame, proof that Liam's disappearance was paranormal. They entered just before sunset, confident, laughing, pretending not to be afraid. But within minutes the forest air changed. The temperature dropped so low their breath fogged. Their phones glitched, screens fluttering from static to pure black. Mia swore she heard someone breathing behind her, but when she turned, only trees stared back. They followed an old trail, filming shadows stretching unnaturally far over the dirt. Leaves shook without wind. Whispering voices circled them, repeating their names. Ethan stepped on something wet. It was blood soaking into the soil, still warm. Tyler aimed the camera toward a hollow tree and caught a reflection. 2 glowing eyes staring from inside the bark. Then a voice, soft as a lullaby, echoed from beneath them, calling Ethan by name with Liam's voice. Panic spread fast. They wanted to leave, but the path they came from was gone. The forest had reshaped itself, sealing them in like prey. Their camera kept rolling as night swallowed everything. The footage shook in their trembling hands as the 4 teens replayed what the camera caught. At first, the frames showed nothing but trees. Then the bark began changing shape. A twisted human face formed in the graying eyes, carved open in a silent scream. It wasn't there before. Panic erupted. Grace convinced herself it was just light distortion. Mia couldn't breathe, insisting the forest was watching them. Tyler zoomed further, and the screaming face multiplied across every tree in the frame. Dozens, hundreds, all frozen in agony. They turned off the camera, but the faces remained, their mouths opening wider with every passing second. Ethan backed away and crashed into a trunk, only to feel warm breath exhale from the wood. Roots slithered across his ankle, holding him down. Grace hacked them away with a pocket knife and dragged him free, but their relief died when they realized the trees were moving, inch by inch, surrounding them like a cage. Distant laughter echoed across the branches. Children mixed with adult voices, like a choir of the damned. The sky turned a deep, sickly red. Shadows moved without bodies. Mia whispered that Liam's spirit was trapped inside the wood. Ethan asked the question no one dared answer. What if every face was once a person? Answers waited in Ashwood's forgotten library, buried beneath dust and silence. The teens ran back to town at dawn, shaken and pale, refusing to speak about the forest. Tyler, desperate to prove what he saw, tore through old records. He discovered something the town had hidden for decades. Blackthorn Forest had once been a government testing ground during the 1960s. Project Indigo. Reports described soldiers disappearing during field trials. Scientists vanished overnight. Children born near the forest were relocated without explanation. Experiments mentioned a biological organism growing beneath the soil, an intelligent root network capable of communication. The project ended after 32 people vanished on the same night. The government sealed the forest and erased documents, but some remained. Ethan read a survivor's account. "The forest speaks. It wants minds." Mia cried, realizing Liam was not the first child taken. Grace noticed every photograph of Ashwood before the project showed a smaller forest. It had grown. Expanded, consumed. The group agreed to reveal everything online, but when they returned home to prepare the recording, 6 men in suits appeared at their door, offering money, threats, and silence. The teens refused, unaware that the forest had already chosen them. The nightmare crawled out of the woods with claws. One morning, the townspeople woke to hundreds of dead animals scattered across roads and porches. Deer, foxes, dogs, all shredded open. Blood trails led back into Blackthorn Forest like arrows. Panic gripped Ashwood. Churches filled, stores boarded up, and parents kept children indoors. But at sunset, a sound rose from the forest, deep growls followed by human screams. Tyler live-streamed the chaos. Viewers watched as glowing eyes stared from between trees. A massive shadow sprinted across the camera frame, faster than any animal. Something hunted the town. Houses shook as unseen claws scraped the siding. Dozens of people ran toward the sheriff's station, only to find the sheriff missing, his door splintered, his radio soaked in blood. Mia called Liam's name, hoping his voice would guide them, but what answered was wrong, distorted, broken, echoing from every direction. "Come home," it sang. Ethan collapsed, clutching his skull, saying the forest was speaking inside his mind. Before night ended, 3 more townspeople vanished. Their clothes were found hanging neatly on branches, as if the forest undressed them before swallowing them whole. Everyone finally understood. Blackthorn Forest wasn't just alive, it was starving. The missing boy returned at dawn, walking barefoot down Main Street, clothes untouched, skin pale as moonlight. Liam's eyes were empty black pits, reflecting movement inside them like branches swaying. His mother ran to him, sobbing with joy, but Liam didn't hug her. He whispered, "They're waiting." Every light flickered off. Liam stared at the teens and smiled, whispering their names in perfect order. Tyler filmed as Liam spoke in voices that were not his: men, women, children, all overlapping. He described tunnels beneath the forest where roots swallowed bones to steal memories. Grace asked what the forest wanted. Liam raised a shaking finger toward Ashwood. "Home," he answered. That night, dozens of townspeople sleepwalked toward the forest, eyes closed, chanting the same word, "home." No one could wake them. They disappeared into the trees, never returning. Liam's body began shaking violently before collapsing. Roots crawled from his mouth and retreated into cracks in the road. The teens brought him inside, trying to help, but Liam whispered a final message, "Run before the moon bleeds." His pulse stopped. Outside, clouds split open, dripping red rain that stained every building. The forest had claimed its voice. Now it claimed its army. Darkness swallowed Ashwood whole when the forest began to move. Trees uprooted themselves with thunderous cracks, marching forward inch by inch. Roads disappeared under twisting roots. Power lines snapped. The town was trapped in a living cage. Screams echoed as shadows shaped like humans crawled from the tree line, walking on broken limbs. Tyler swung a bat through one, only to hit dust and voices. Ethan recorded everything, desperate to warn the world. But phones no longer connected, no signal, no networks, not even GPS. Mia saw the sky ripple open like torn fabric, leaking stars that weren't real. Grace found the sheriff, alive but hollow-eyed, whispering, "The forest remembers." Before Roots dragged him away screaming. Houses were crushed under branches, cars flipped, windows shattered. With every step the forest took, it grew taller, older, stronger. People begged for mercy, praying to a god who would not answer. The teens hid inside the town hall basement, shaking, listening to footsteps above wooden steps, not human ones. Outside, the forest sang with thousands of voices, a hymn of triumph. Ashwood was losing, and somewhere in that sea of living trees, Liam stood beside the Roots, smiling with dead eyes. One survivor stood beneath the sunrise, trembling as Ashwood burned. Tyler held the camera, covered in ash, whispering into the lens for anyone left to hear. "The forest isn't natural," he said, voice hollow. "It thinks, it remembers, it grows." Behind him, Blackthorn Forest stretched endlessly across highways, already touching distant hills. The town was gone, every house, every street swallowed by branches. The air reeked of moss and smoke. Tyler explained how Ethan, Mia, and Grace died fighting to escape. He described Roots coiling around Mia's throat, whispering secrets as she choked. Ethan vanished into the soil, leaving nothing but his cell phone floating above the dirt. Grace burned herself to destroy a patch of roots, buying Tyler seconds to run. Now he stood alone, recording the truth. The forest wanted expansion. It wanted America. Tyler warned future towns, "If you hear whispers in the trees, don't listen. If shadows move, don't look. If a missing child returns, don't touch them." His hands shook as branches rustled behind him. He turned slowly, eyes wide, dropping the camera. The last sound captured was his scream fading into the wind, and the forest humming, ready for its next town.